Caregiving changes the way we connect to the people we love. And if we're honest about it, sometimes it really hurts. Not because the love is gone, but the familiar ways we used to express that love have changed. Hi, I'm Dementia Coach Diane, and I'm sharing my journey as I care for my husband, Ben, who's living at home with Lewy body dementia. It's been hands down the most daunting experience of my life. But I'm also a life coach. And so I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned, what's helped me, and creating a community of caregivers, all sharing their experiences so that together we can feel like we've got this. And so I'm trusting that as I share what's worked for me, you'll be inspired to do the same. So recently, we celebrated Ben's birthday. And oh my gosh, I was thinking about how I used to celebrate birthdays with him and how much time and effort I would go into picking presents that I know would be meaningful for him and doing planning experiences that I knew he'd enjoy. And it's so different now because, of course, Ben isn't even really aware that it's his birthday. So I really had to think about what I was going to do. And I realized that a lot of my choices were actually for me. And that's what I want to talk about in this first video of this series on staying close and maintaining a connection with our loved ones. I want to talk first about why we as caregivers still need a connection and how important it is to start to think out of the box about how we're going to get it. And then take a look at some of the different relationships that we find ourselves having to deal with as caregivers, whether in my case it's a relationship with a spouse or a parent or a sibling or maybe even a child. Or perhaps you're a professional caregiver and you're caring for a number of different people with different conditions and different needs. So in every case, I'd suggest that we need to look for ways to maintain a connection with the ones that we're caring for so that it doesn't just become an endless list of tasks. Because for me, when I start to get into that mode, caregiver resentment and anger can really come up and get in the way of the kind of caregiver I want to be for my beloved. So, first, let's acknowledge, and I think we all need the acknowledgement that caregiving can change everything, the way we live and the way we love. And so finding a way to stay connected is going to certainly take some creativity. But I found that, of course, love doesn't disappear. As I said, it evolves. And I've found that with Ben, what's kind of interesting is that as all of my expectations have disappeared, I don't have any expectations of him, certainly as a partner or as a man or even as an adult. And as those expectations have disappeared, what's left actually has been unconditional love. And that's been an amazing experience. So I invite you to just consider that whoever you're caring for, maybe the first thing to do is drop expectations. Now, it's not easy, I know, when your spouse maybe can't express their affection, when your parent forgets who you are, when your child or your sibling's future looks way different than you imagined. These are tough circumstances. So as we're perhaps dropping our expectations of our loved one, let's try to drop the expectations we have of ourselves. I think at first, I was so caught up in the details and the challenge of caregiving that I kind of forgot or perhaps expected that I could just take care of everything without, an emotional connection to Ben. And the truth is, as caregivers, we need emotional closeness. I think at first, the first couple of years, I felt isolated. invisible. I mean, we don't have children. Ben doesn't have any family. I don't have any siblings or family close enough to really help me out on a day-to-day basis. And so I felt kind of starved for that reassurance that comes from our human connection. And I think I had to come to grips with the fact that it's okay to actually long for that closeness. I mean, it's not weakness, it's human, right? It's humanity. So when the connection that we knew starts to fade, illness, dementia, aging alone, can really impact how our loved ones interact with us. I think the first thing we have to recognize is that it's going to be different, but we can still find a way to stay connected. I know that when Ben was first going through the changes with Lewy body dementia, and it was pretty aggressive, he didn't recognize me. And it really hurt. But I had to remember that, again, it was his brain changing. His perception was changing. I looked like someone he knew, but he thought I was an imposter. And I had to quickly come to grips with the idea that this was not a rejection of me. I mean, I did all the wrong things. I tried to convince him it was me. I showed him pictures of our wedding. I made all the wrong moves trying to bring him back into my reality instead of recognizing that he couldn't do that at the time. And so it was really the disease that was speaking louder, of course, than his heart. And since I have made some changes in the way I've managed things with him, the love has started to reemerge. So let's remember that, again, especially if you're a dementia caregiver, we can still create moments with our loved ones. We might not be creating memories. I mean, they might forget what we do, a few minutes after we do it. But the sweet connections can still be there, the beautiful gestures. I find that with Ben, I think he remembers the feeling that he has with me. And what's been so amazing is that once I kind of calmed down and got some structures and routines in place, and once I accepted, quite honestly, this journey that I was on with him, I was able to frequently repeat how much I loved him, how much he meant to me. Even the days he wasn't recognizing me, I just, kind of went with his flow. And gradually, believe it or not, he came to recognize me more often. And you'd think it would have gone in the other direction, because as his disease progressed, as other symptoms progressed, I was afraid that he would have more and more moments and more times of not recognizing me. But in fact, it's actually gone in the other direction. And the only way I can explain that is because I changed. I kept persisting in sharing with him how much I appreciated him, how talented I thought he was, how much I loved him. So in this series, as I said, in this first video, I just wanted to acknowledge that as caregivers, we do need the connection, but we're probably going to have to be the ones to initiate it. And instead of feeling like victims or feeling sorry for ourselves, which I do at times, believe me, I'm human, but the more we can set that aside and realize that it's not personal, that we can love this other individual no matter what our relationship is with them, that we can put ourselves in their place as best we can find ways to maintain a connection. So I know that for myself, I've really kind of had to think outside the box at times, but connection might look very simple these days for us. It's sitting side by side in the car, if you've seen any of our car videos. It's listening to music that we both grew up with. sharing a favorite snack. I mean, that's one of Ben's favorite things to do, and I'm blessed that he has such a good appetite. There are times that I put on music that he's actually written. He's a musician, and I'll just hold him and I'll tell him what an amazing guitar player he is, or what a fabulous songwriter he is, and just help him to make the connection with something that he loves. Making eye contact with him, I find, is just so important. And I smile a lot, even when I don't feel like it. Every time I go to help him change, for instance, I just plaster a huge smile on my face no matter what I'm dealing with, and let him know that it's okay and that I love him. Even when I'm brushing his hair or massaging some lotion into his hands, I just take that extra moment to look into his eyes and maintain that physical touch. We also pray a lot together, and sometimes we just breathe in silence together. So I just want to encourage you to realize that the connection is really important for you as well as your loved one, that there are ways to do it if you're willing to think out of the box, if you're willing to let go of maybe the way things used to be. And so let me just offer for this first video some closing reflection questions. Where might you still be grieving the old ways that you used to connect with your loved one? And are you willing to just set those aside? What are some small, simple moments that you could create today, tonight, whenever you're watching this, that might feel like connection, even if they don't look the way they used to? Just one simple thing you could do to get started. And if you could build a new bridge with your loved one, what would one plank look like today? We're not going to build the whole bridge in a day, but we can start to lay down those planks. So let's keep in mind that love doesn't disappear when the old ways of connection fade. It does ask us to listen differently, touch differently, and sometimes love more bravely than we ever thought we could. So I hope this has been helpful to at least get us started on this series about staying connected with our loved ones. Please give a thumbs up if it is. And in the next video, I'm going to go a little deeper in terms of how to maintain intimacy with a spouse when sex might not be an option anymore, but lots of other things are. So stay tuned. And please subscribe if this is something that's valuable for you. It lets YouTube know you want to see more of this, and it lets me know to keep going as well. Thanks so much. Stay tuned for part 2.